Projects focus on sharing information together on land, soil, crop and climate. And today we will present about the project. So I will give a short overview on what the project is about and what are we actually building. And then my colleagues from Kenya, Rwanda and Ethiopia will share their lessons learned from our project so far and what we've been working on. So the goal of the project is to develop land, soil and crop information hubs at the National Agricultural Research Information Centers. And we do this to strengthen the agricultural knowledge and information systems and to contribute to climate resilient food systems and climate smart agriculture. We do this by creating impact in the project. What we want to do is to increase the agricultural productivity for farmers through land, soil and crop information, informed decision maker by its users at national, local and regional level. And we want to emphasize that we want to create this impact by sharing information. So the whole project that we are building is not to create new data, but to give an overview of data that actually exist. And for example as well, if there's already projects, innovations and other things happening in the country, then we can combine them together in one easy to access platform. So the scope of the project is that we focus on integrated soil fertility management and soil water conservation. And those are the two main use cases that we have and that we gather information about and we give examples and explanations. And we're piloting the project in Kenya, Rwanda and Ethiopia. And one of the most important things of the project is that the project will be led and will be hosted and maintained by Calro, RAP and IR. So they have complete ownership of the platform that we are creating. We'll integrate the system in their own system and to make sure that we do a lot of capacity building as well. And the whole system that we are building is based on user needs and user skills. So we did in the past, we already did user needs assessments. And it also enables that stakeholders find each other and that we connect data providers with data users. So it will be one platform that you can go to and search for your data or for your projects or your initiatives or your tools or methods that are out there. And the whole goal of the project is to enable decision making with questions related to agriculture, land and business. I see the presentation is half starting. So the Land, Soil and Crop Hub can be used as an AKIS to deliver information from the institution to the user, combine information from multiple sources, access available climate smart resources, avoid duplication of efforts, which is one of the most important things that the project contributes to. We get feedback from users and we create partnerships and collaboration among stakeholders. And we have more information about what the hub is at the booth. So we have created this fact sheet to give you more information. We're not doing this alone. The project is funded by the EU, by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, by ISRIC, and it's part of the DESIRA project. And we are working together with a lot of different project partners. So most of them are here. We have RAP, Calro, IR, ILRI, ICRAF, IUCN, and ASARECA, of course. And Wageningen University is one of our main project partners as well. To conclude my presentation, I want to call to action to ensure sustainability of the hub. So at the moment we are creating this Land, Soil and Crop Hub, but that is in the development within the countries. And to ensure that this hub will sustain and will stay there after the project ends. We need to create policies to support this development and maintenance of the LSC hubs. We have to offer sustainable finance from governments to keep the LSC hubs widely used and up to date. We encourage data validation and quality control to ensure open and fair data sharing. And we should invest in capacity building so we can actually make sure that a lot of people are able to use and maintain this hub. So thank you very much. That was my presentation. We had a lot of visuals with it to make it more clear, but this was my presentation for now. Thank you.
It's me. It's yes. Yeah, it's me. Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Kennedy Were. I work for Calro. My task is very simple. I want to share the lessons that we learned when we conducted the multi-stakeholder needs assessment of the different stakeholders who will be using this land, soil, and crop information hub. So Teysa has told us that the goal of the project is to develop land, soil, and crop information hubs within the national agricultural research systems within Kenya, Ethiopia, and Uganda. But for us to develop these hubs, we need to know what are the needs of the different users. So for us to do this, we had to conduct or rather hold multi-stakeholder workshops in order to assess the needs of the different users, different stakeholders who will be using these land, soil, and crop information hubs within these three countries. So I'll be sharing the key lessons that we learned while we were conducting these multi-stakeholder workshops in the three countries. But before I do that, allow me to talk briefly about Kenya. Kenya is a land of diversity. It is diverse in terms of climate, in terms of soils, in terms of agroecologies, in terms of terrain, and all that. And it is basically an agrarian economy. So most of the GDP is derived from the agricultural productivities, and also agricultural activities contribute to rural employment in the country. And of course, most of the agriculture in the country is done by smallholder farmers, like in many other countries within Eastern and Central Africa. And of course, they also face the same challenges. Like, for example, they have poor access to agricultural information, poor access to market information, poor access to financial credit, poor access to technology, and many others. And this, of course, contributes to low productivity and also low yields within these agricultural systems. And of course, this is compounded by the effects of climate change, like recurrent droughts, which are also instigated by climatic changes within the system. So for us to turn around the situation, to come up with the climate resilient food systems and also agricultural systems which are productive, then we need to come up with effective policies which are backed by relevant and reliable evidence. And I think this is the entry point for this project. It is going to create the land, soil, and crop information hubs whereby different stakeholders can come and access information about land, soils, and crop, which can then help them to come up with effective decisions. So having said that, I say that I'm going to share briefly about the lessons that we learned while we were holding these multi-stakeholder workshops in the different countries. The lessons were quite many, but because of time, I'm just going to focus on three. So the first lesson is with regard to land, soil, and crop information and data within the three countries. So while we were conducting these multi-stakeholder workshops in Kenya particularly, we discovered that there is an abundance of land, soil, and crop information within Kenya, but most of it is not fair. What do I mean by fair? It is not findable, it is not accessible, it is not interoperable, and it is not reusable. Most of the data is there, but it's outdated, so there's need for updating this information it's also scattered within different institutions and also poorly archived. And we also discovered that there's low awareness of the availability of this data within, among the stakeholders. So with regard to AKI's initiative, that is Agricultural Knowledge and Innovation Systems, we discovered from the multi-stakeholder workshop that we have many AKI's systems and initiatives which are ongoing within the country. They are active, and most of them are operated by the private sector. And they intervene at different stages of the agricultural value chain. There are those that offer, for example, information about processing, information about farm inputs. There are those that offer information about markets and all that. And like I said, there are so many examples, but one of the examples that we have in Kenya is the Kenya Agricultural Observatory platform, which is being implemented by CALRO. It normally gives information, seasonal climate forecast, and also agronomic advices to farmers. And then we also have another AKIS initiative called, operated by Safaricom. It's called the DigiFarm. This offers information and also services regarding farm inputs, extension services, market information, and all that. And we also have another one called the BioVision Infonet, which offers information about pests and diseases, and conservation agriculture, and other topics, relevant topics to different stakeholders in the agricultural value chain. So the third lesson is related to policies, AKIS related policies. Again, AKIS is Agricultural Knowledge and Innovation Systems. So in terms of policies, we assess the policies at the national level, at the local level, that is the county level in Kenya, and also at the institutional level. So we discovered that at the national level, there is a strong policy environment. There are so many policies which can affect the development and the maintenance of these land, soil, and crop information hubs that we want to develop within these countries. So in Kenya, for example, we have the Data Protection Act all the way to the agricultural sector transformation and growth strategy, which will run from 2019 all the way to 2029. Then at the county level, the policy environment, which can facilitate these hubs, are rather weak. Most of these county governments, they rely on the policies at the national level. The only policies and strategies which were common at the county level were the county integrated development plan. So there's a lot of work in terms of creating an enabling policy level at the county level. Then at the institutional level, we discovered that different institutions have different policies regarding data sharing. So particularly for the private sector and the public sector, you find that in the public sector, they are obliged to offer this LSC data, land, soil, and crop data and information free of charge. But then the private sector, they have the information, but they're willing to share it at a cost. So that might also affect the policies. So like I said, there were so many lessons that we learned from this multi-stakeholder workshop, but because of time, I beg to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Eric Nsabimana. I work with Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board. We conducted the same workshop in Rwanda, but I'm going also to talk to you about Rwanda, just a brief, and some challenges we already used to have in terms of data and data sharing. Take you also about talking about some initiative and what make them failing, and finally the lesson learned during those workshops. As some of you know that Rwanda is a hill country, which make us call it a country of 1,000 hills, with also the highest population density, which does make the pressure on agriculture land and making them become very, very small. But Rwanda have tried to come up with some strategy to build resilience or to increase the productivity. And also have come up with other policies that are allowing innovation or some innovation in agriculture. Some of the innovation that have been coming in agriculture sector, there is what we call the agriculture land information system, which was maintained to be like a kind of register of all the land suitable for agriculture, so that whoever want to invest in agriculture or whoever want to do any other business in agriculture know that which land is suitable for agriculture. There is also another one who is still going, which is called Smart Nkunganire system, which is used for the input distribution, fertilizer and other inputs, and also it's used for the subsidies system. Recently, we came up also with the initiative of just developing the site-specific fertilizer lime recommendation, because we're just using only the one combination or one recommendation for the entire country, but we saw, because we have a different agroecological zone, that is not suitable for our land. But also the system, as I told you, we are a country of 1,000 here with a lot of, which is affected by a lot of erosion. So then we also want in the same initiative to identify hotspots for erosion, so that we can put in place or come up with an investment plan for all those specific areas. But still, when we talk about data, there is a lot of information that's going on, and sometimes they are scattered in different areas. So the initiative is just to make a hub where all those information can be shared, or when you can have like I may say a general data repository for the entire country. Some challenge which now still in the areas in land and soil crop data, that we have data which are not accessible. As my colleague said, they are not fair. I'm not going to again to repeat what the term fair mean. We also have because there is no data sharing policy in place, there is no procedure of data sharing. We also sometimes we don't have also the data validation processes. Everybody validates his own data on his own, and we don't. There is still a challenge of low capacity in data procedure, and also the investment is still low. Among the lessons learned, we also during the multi-stakeholder workshop we conducted, we found that all the stakeholders request that to have all the organizations should have a clear way of data sharing, because all the data we are producing, it's all aimed to develop our agriculture sector. We found also that most of the stakeholders rely on the government data, because some of them they are still with a low capacity of producing their own information. We found that we can provide data. LSC data can be also used for the natural disaster management, can be used for farm inputs, for climate-smart agriculture measures. Can also help us also to develop other decision-making tools in agriculture sector. So we need to have a clear data sharing protocol. In terms of LSC, so in terms of agriculture knowledge information services initiative, innovation, there is a need of having an operation agriculture knowledge information services. We need also to strengthen the existing initiative. We need also to create a central data repository, which will help us to disseminate data for all data providers or data users. On the policy level, last one, we found that there is a lot of, there is many policies which promote the development of agriculture, but sometimes people are not aware of them. There is a need of just mainstreaming them, and also some they don't give like a clear cut or where the stakeholders should start or should end. Sometimes there is a conflict on the field where we start, where it can work. So every stakeholders tend to grab the easy part of the. So there is also, we found also there is a need of some policy to be developed, like the one for indigenous crop, and also we also realize that our farmers and other people that are really in the field, in the real work of agriculture, they have indigenous knowledge, which is very relevant. So we need to have a policy that integrates them in the agriculture research. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Blaise, for your invitation. So my name is Girma Mammo. I'm working for the Ethiopian Institute of Agricultural Research, and also I'm the director for climate, geospatial, and biometrics research in my institute. So AI is also part of this project, and I may make use of the opportunities that the previous two speakers made. We have passed through all steps as they went through, so I don't want to repeat what they said. The workshop have already been conducted in Ethiopia as well, but in the interest of time and as a matter of focus, I would like to make my presentation in a value-added way. So, but before that, I would like to say a few words about Ethiopia. Ethiopia is actually it's a big country, therefore I can say it's Ethiopian region. And it's actually the cradle of humanity. We have really generously provided a number of resources to the world community, rich history and environmental and socio-cultural diversity to the world. And it is a place where Lucy was found, and that is the origin of humanity. And the country has also reached biodiversity. More than 7,000 species of higher plants exist in Ethiopia, of which 12% are endemic. This is a great valuable asset to the country and even the world and our continent, Africa. So it has the diverse terrains and the topography that resulted in huge varieties in soil types and the local climate patterns. So it's challenging place in terms of addressing the issues of agricultural productivity and the production. So in terms of data requirement, there is no one country that needs high quality, high resolution data than Ethiopia, because the country is as diverse as you saw it's huge diversity in soil types exist in Ethiopia. That is why we have a big challenge. And I consider challenge as not as a problem. I will consider it as key to success. That is the area where we have to focus on, put on our flashlight and then address it. Typically, land degradation is inevitable, very highly degraded in terms of soil erosion, deforestation, soil salinity, sodicity, and poor water management. So the land is highly degraded, but I don't want to enter into that one in detail, but we have 5 capacity areas in addressing these challenges in Ethiopia. Number one is the knowledge issue. really the knowledge, particularly the digital literacy issue is very high from our side. This is area where we have to focus on and where we have to work on it in a more focused way. The other one is infrastructure. Digital infrastructures are still weak in terms of hard and software, in terms of ground sensors and the satellite remote sensing technologies. We are still, we have a big challenge. The other one is technology. As we heard this morning, technology is the driver of the agricultural productivity in Africa. So there is no way without having technology. So we are also in that area. We are a bit, we have to work hard. And the other one is financing. Without money, there is no research, there is no development. So finance is also lacking. Or partnership is very important, particularly the public-private partnership, because one institution cannot alone do it, these challenging cases. So what we learned through this, in terms of data and information, is that we learned that data and the knowledge are becoming the new gold of the 21st century. More than land and many other factors, data is becoming gold. So we have to think in that way. We learned that. Ethiopian agricultural research system continues to building on this database or hub, such as through this project, to fuel digital agricultural practices in our country, and this can be learned, can be extrapolated to the other countries as well. We believe in make data assets must be findable, accessible, and interoperable, and actually reusable. So we believe we are focusing on these areas, and we have to become strong in advanced data analytics and strengthening dissemination of bundled agro-advisory services, as Dr. Kinde was saying this before me. We have to focus on bundled agro-advisory services provision and extension to our farmers. So where are we now in terms of initiatives in Ethiopia with respect to this project? We have many, the government has really many initiatives, more than 20 of them, but I will focus on a few of them here. Number one is the data holding by COW. COW means Coalition of the Willing, which is a collection of a group of people, professionals, coming together and agreed to share data among themselves. Not to put it somewhere, but to analyze it and come up with well-seasoned information to be used by our farmers. And this has been presented yesterday by Dr. Lusagad and Dr. Kinde. It was presented this just before me. So COW is really, it is hosted at AIR. It is informal, kind of informal institutions, I can say. So COW is one source of initiative in Ethiopia. National Agricultural Data Hub by the Ministry of Agriculture, which is already, the website is already published and owned by the government. And Ethiosis Data, Ethiopian Soil Information System, which is by Ethiopian Agricultural Transformation Institute. DS, Digital Agriculture Extension and Agro-Advisory Services Roadmap developed since last year. And Ms. Yanina, she's with us. She's the owner of this tool. So the extension side has already been somehow budgeted, but what remains now is the research side. The other one is interactive voice response system, which is hotline, which is 8828. We trust prediction modeling and early warning system. Ethiopia Digital Agroclimate Advisory Platform, which was presented earlier by Dr. Kinde. This is a valuable asset for the country. National Land Registration and Clarification Certification, which is very important, particularly in financing the agriculture sector in terms of collateral approach. Seal certification and so the last slide is actually a convergence of those all challenges into opportunities and through enabling policies. Ethiopia has many progressive policies and strategies, but these two are very important for our purpose now. The 10 years perspective development plan and the nationally determined contribution determination, which is focusing on the reduction of carbon dioxide emission to the atmosphere, Ethiopia has already pledged to reduce by 68.8% of greenhouse gas emission to. So this is a kind of rescuing the world as well. So the drivers are the ones that we saw earlier. The drivers of these movies, the knowledge part is very important. We have to focus on it. Infrastructure is very important. The technology particularly, so the product. The finance and the partnership are very important. Partnership is particularly for risk sharing and also forming synergy and the complementarity among partners. So the other one is the strategic enablers are there, the 10 in 10 program, which is supposed to develop one program every year throughout the 10 years. And the agricultural commercialization cluster, transforming Ethiopian food system, climate smart agriculture roadmap, and irrigated wheat production system. These are good initiatives which are ongoing. The whole purpose is to feed the DAS, as I said, digital agricultural extension and agro-diversity services. The roadmap is already there. It's a big kind of big pipe, which we have to feed with a number of technologies. So the whole purpose is to enable our farmers to become productive despite the many challenges, particularly the climate change. That, thank you very much. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful, Girma, and then also thank you, Eric, and then also Kennedy, and then we, took lessons from the 3 countries, and then I'm Ermias Beta Mariam. I work with the World Agroforestry Center, ICRAF, which is based in Kenya. So I have been for 12 years in Kenya. So some Kenyans are claiming me as a Kenyan, and then also Ethiopians also claim me as an Ethiopian. So it is, Asareka is a perfect place to be. We all are together, isn't it? Thanks. Yeah, I think the role given to me is to answer the very easy questions and then push the most difficult one to them. And then, if I would really pick some of the key lessons I learned from the ministerial statement, one is soil health is critical for agricultural productivity and then our environment, be it climate, land degradation, or biodiversity. And then the other key thing is really to do it so, and then there is a lot of fragmented knowledge here and there. It doesn't mean that we don't have a lot in Africa. I like the way the European Union delegates say that, there is a lot of expertise, a lot of data than we thought, but what best have you done with that? So this project is not a duplication of what you are doing, but it is a kind of, accelerator, so to say. And then if I take you the history of soil information a little bit in Africa, digital at least, we have the African Soil Information Services. Okay, it was executed in the whole sub-Saharan Africa, came up with some data, some maps, it is there. Okay, let's have a second phase. Let's pick 4 countries to have even a specific country-specific soil information system. The Ethiopian Soil Information Services in Ethiopia. Tanzania Soil Information Services. I see my colleague Martin there. And then Ghana Soil Information Services and Nigeria Soil Information Services. Fine, then what? I think the key challenge we have seen in most of the development research projects is sustainability. And then one of the key things for us to keep sustainability is there should be enough enabling environment. I think Taisa, my colleague, has mentioned, I think there should be enabling policy. There must be also, sustainable finance. When you see sustainable, it shouldn't always come from donors, but there should be, contribution from the national partners, provided that it gives really, the information or the data they need. And then, of course, capacity development is also at the same time very, very critical in that sense. So that's why we would like to really bring in this, land soil crop information services hub, or if you wish it, it is a to-go place for data. So oftentimes we have a lot of behavior. This is my data. Where is your data? In my computer. Where is your data? It is in my email. I think that's what we have learned also as researchers. So if you say rather than my data, I think this project would like to change my data to our data, because we have all our common vision. All the SDG 17 goals are very clear, starting from 17, partnership to food security. However, how we're really managing whatever data we have, and then this is a project that really would like to bring in, and then to be a to-go place sustainably, and then continue providing data for different partners, right? It could be the private sector, it could be the extension system, it could be, the data is not as a raw data, but there could be someone to regulate it and then also produce some of the key information go. So if you take the national research systems, oftentimes they don't control while data is moving in their country. As an ICRAF myself, I go to the field, collect soil data from Kenya, produce a paper, share evidence, and then also try to have even a policy brief. Am I supposed to? And then go to also the agriculture area to do it. However, I think this mandate has to be clearly indicated and then given to the National Research Institute, because they are the one who is really linking the entire development agenda in the respective countries. And then we are also trying to customize and then contextualize this hub into the context of the 3 countries. So there is no one fit solution for all. So that is really to bring in the whole thing in one, and then I would like to open now for any questions, any criticisms particularly, and then also insight. That would be really great to have. So in case also some of you, I don't know, the slide is not coming, but if it comes, I will tell to people what to do. So it's open for any, and then yes, that is the Mentimeter. If you really just scan those, that's barcode, and then if you give us any insight, because we have limited time, we would be very happy, and then this team will go back to you, and then you can also put www.menti.com and then put that code, and then try to really give us any information, any feedback that we'd like to see. So for us, what success would be is, if this really works in these 3 countries, it would be a kind of very interesting flagship project for the entire ASARECA countries. So it's open for any questions, any idea, please. I go like this, and that side. Please, gentleman over there. Someone could help us with the mic, or use the mic on your table, someone's table. Yeah, you can talk there even from the mic, yes. Thanks.
Merci. C'est Willy d'Olizabo au Burundi. Je voudrais d'abord féliciter les orateurs pour les présentations assez riches. Alors, j'ai 3 questions adressées à tout le monde, à tous les présentateurs, parce qu'apparemment c'est le projet qui est exécuté dans 3 pays. Ma première question, c'est comme ce sont les informations qui sont collectées, est-ce que ces informations sont collectées en collaboration avec les projets et programmes en cours dans ces pays pour pouvoir répondre aux effets du changement climatique et rendre les exploitations réellement résilientes. Parce que ces informations sont collectées sans consulter ces projets et programmes au pays. Je crois qu'à un certain moment, il y aura des lacunes dans ces informations. C'est ma première question. Deuxièmement, c'est au niveau de l'applicabilité. Est-ce que réellement les informations collectées sont pensées en termes de modèles de prévision et d'action? Ça, c'est juste pour, premièrement, modèle de prévision. Si réellement ces données aident le pays à pouvoir prévoir les effets qui seront dans le futur, parce que dans la plupart des pays où ces données sont collectées et utilisées concrètement, on a vu que ça peut aider le pays à pouvoir se préparer à des effets catastrophiques. Troisièmement, c'est le modèle d'action. Si réellement vous pouvez aider ces programmes et ces projets en cours au pays pour pouvoir dire, voilà, à partir des informations, des données qu'on a, si on arrive à pouvoir mettre en action certaines je dirais pouvoir adopter certaines activités dans le sens de rendre les éléments résilients de ces exploitations. Voilà ce que vous pourrez avoir comme résultat dans 5 ans ou dans 10 ans. Est-ce que réellement ces 2 types de modèles existent? Merci.
Maybe, if you want to, just make it as brief as possible, because we will be also available around, and then if you want to have more questions, we will answer. But let's make it quickly. John, quick reflection, a few seconds.
Yes, about that, I would like to tell you that this project, the pilot is done in 3 countries, Republic of Rwanda, Federal Republic of Ethiopia, and Kenya. We started off by doing needs assessment and talking to all the stakeholders at national level and subnational level in the counties or the districts or in the different federal regions. And we did key informant interviews to be able to gather the data. So we end up now establishing the level of use of land, soil, crop information services to be able to advance climate smart agriculture, and where, as of right now, there are gaps so that the process of developing the hub is done by people who have the technical capacity to be able to have this hub hosted by the national agricultural research institutes in these countries. And that's why they are here represented in such a way that we worked together with them. So everything that we are saying actually was taken into consideration, and I think we are out to get out a very innovative project that will lead to accelerating the uptake of climate smart agriculture towards achieving food security and dealing with climate-related risks in these countries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. You reminded me of the Rwanda Soil Information Services that Eric mentioned in Rwanda. So, following those three countries, a fifth country came with, even with the same name, Rwanda Soil Information Services. They collected thousands of soil data, fertilizer omission trails across the country, and the project is about to end. Then where is all this data is going to be? It's really, data is good. It's a lot of investment. What is our return on investment, our data? What are the big opportunity costs that we could save? So that's why you say that, oh, Rwanda, I would like to build on that one, and then I would like to have this hub in Rwanda so that it will really help me to keep all the previously collected data sets and then the upcoming ones into my system. That's how Rwanda defined and then contextualized. Likewise also for Ethiopia and Kenya. Maybe someone...
Thank you very much, Ermias. Let us take the questions at once, and then the panelists will answer them. Dr. Baguma.
Thank you very much. Je m'appelle Sylvester Dickson Baguma. Je viens d'Ouganda. Je travaille au Naro. Indeed, I want to start. My question, I wrote it long ago, but somehow you've been talking about it. We're not getting a solution. True that data is presented as one of the drivers in land, soil, crop information services. You put it very well. Data is scarce. Sometimes it's not there at all. If you find it, it's not up to date. In other words, not accurate, and therefore not dependable. The data is mine. It's on my laptop. It's on my floppy drive, maybe these days, or disk. Maybe in my cloud account. When I leave the organization, voila, I go with it. What strategies do you give to all of us to make sure that this data is available so that we take advantage of the big data and we are able to manipulate this data, interrogate this data for the benefit of transformative productivity?
Thank you, Dr. Baguma. Let us have...
Merci beaucoup, c'est Antoine Lubobo. Je suis professeur d'université à Lubumbashi en RDC. Et ici, je représente l'INERA, l'Institut national d'études et de recherche agronomiques. J'ai suivi avec beaucoup d'attention les projets pilotes sur la gestion et la collecte des informations sur le terrain, le sol et les cultures. C'était une bonne chose. Mais comme c'est un projet pilote, j'ai réalisé qu'il y a beaucoup de défis qui ont été relevés dans tous les 3 pays. Mais quand je considère que, comme c'est un projet pilote, la première question, c'est de savoir, est-ce que ce projet pilote arrive déjà à terme et comment on va appliquer ces informations que vous avez recueillies dans les autres pays où nous attendons ce projet? Ça, c'est la première question parce que nous ne sommes pas concernés par les projets pilotes, mais on voulait déjà savoir comment on peut s'y prendre. La deuxième question, c'est je reviens à ce que notre ami du Burundi, Willy, avait posé. C'est vrai que vous travaillez avec toutes les parties prenantes. Je m'imagine, parce qu'ici vous focalisez beaucoup plus sur les instituts nationaux, les organisations, mais comment les universités ou les étudiants font les expérimentations, ils collectent beaucoup de données, font partie intégrante de ce travail. Voilà les deux préoccupations. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Dr. Lobobo. Let me go to the other side of the room. Let us have Burundi.
Thank you very much. My question is almost similar from like that one from Dr. Baguma, the strategies to use the data collected. But I have a very particular question I want to ask to all the presenters. Of course, when you don't have data, it is very difficult to plan. And in most African countries, we do not have professional agriculture, professional farmers where they really do industrial agriculture. And now, in terms of collecting data on land, soil, crops, information, I would like to be advised if we were to duplicate this kind of work, at which scale farm shall we take? Because like in Burundi, probably also in Rwanda, you may find that farmers at the family level, they have a very small land they use. And when you go sampling, how big land, how big farm do you give priority to sample and to analyze, to collect the data? That is one question. And the second is very similar. When we know many bodies are collecting data and there is no coordination, you may find that university, they also collect the samples, they collect the data. Research institute, they also collect the data. But also you may find that central administration, they also collect the data. And in the country, you may find that data are kept in many different institutions. In this pilot project, how are you harmonizing the data collected and their usage? How do you harmonize data collected from different institutions? Or we are going to, this hub is coming to solve such kind of problems of having data collected and kept by different institutions. Thank you.
I think let's attempt to answer those, and we have one last round. We will get back to you. Thaisa, would you like to touch some of the questions, please?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. A lot of them seem similar about how to collect data and to ensure data is not gone to waste when people are leaving an organization or that the data is on the computers. So one of the big things that we do in this project is to create harmonized data sets. So, and what we mean by that is that we did this already. We created a metadata template, which is a format to describe the data that has been collected within every organization. And with this metadata template, all the data can be described, harmonized, and put in the hub so that information that is out there, you can actually use the hub as also as a catalog. So one part of the hub is a metadata catalog that describes the data that is out there. And we're working together with different organizations, such as Knowledge Institute, Extension Pharmacists, private sector, public sector, to really make sure that all the data that is collected is described in a similar way and that is available through the hub. But that really depends on the needs of a country, what they want from this hub. So for example, I think my colleague Kennedy can answer this for Kenya. We're really in the process with them to really create this catalog so that people can use it to describe the data.
Thank you very much. Maybe I would like to ask Girma from Ethiopia, because one of the lessons we picked during our workshops in Ethiopia is that they would like to have a legal legislative giving the mandate of archiving, communicating, and doing soil and crop information survey for the National Research Institute. Girma, would you like to tell something about what is going on there? Maybe as a lesson.
Thank you, Dr. Ermias. Yes, we have some level of experience in terms of developing strategies because we are aiming at how best we can maintain data sustainably for better use in the future. So the Ministry of Agriculture has already taken an initiative to develop data management and the data sharing policy and how institutions can work together by using data. So the ministry has already disseminated or even ordered to share data among these partners. So accordingly, the first point was COW, as I said, COW, Coalition of the Willing, has already started collecting some about 20,000 legacy data from different partners and about 40,000 fertilizer response data from different through modeling workers, and these data are going to be reposited in IIR, so everybody will get the means to submit their data by using their own password. Data management password. Nobody is going to get their data without their permission. So the policy is already, COW has already developed this policy. The Ministry of Agriculture has already developed, and it's actually under ratification by the ministers, Council of Ministers to be released very soon. So that kind of strategic intervention can help to better collect data and put in a big hub such as this one, and then to use for big data analytics and translation into agro-advisory services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, yes, always there need to be incentives, disincentives also. If I give you one policy example from the CGIAR or ICRAF in particular, is that you collect your data and then within 1 year, if you publish, fine. If you don't publish within 1 year, that data is no longer to be kept in your computer. You have to put it and it should be shared with the rest of the world. So you give them 1 year, for instance, to play with the data, and then after, it could be 2 other national systems. And then that is the regulation side of it, which is nice. The other thing is also the ethics. We are researchers. We have our own ethics, and we don't want to really keep it always without. And then I think we need to keep changing our behavior as we go along. That's why even the coalition, when they ask that one, oh, it's interesting, this is my groups are doing that, and then I would like to also share my data. And then there are so many publications which are out, but the data is not there. At least those, if you start from that, okay, this paper is out, but what is the associated data could go to the other side, so that others could also make use of it for meta-analysis and then all those kind of things as a policy. Eric, would you like to say something?
Yeah. Actually, I would like to maybe to start by the experience in Rwanda. It's good that Ermias highlighted the ethic of data sharing. But when we start about that ethic, about data sharing, suppose today we don't even know, we don't even have, in most of our country, we don't even have where to share our data set. Most of us, even if you are going to share them, we share them on the international platform, or we share them, we publish it in our journal. But even if you have an ethic, you don't have where to share. So what we are just starting in this project is just to have because all the National Agriculture Research Institution are the one who has the mandate to guide the agriculture in our different country. So starting by putting a data repository of all those land and soil information data have to be shared, then it will make them also being an official data set, because most of our research we are doing, we tend to correct our own information. We cannot use secondary data, and if we are using secondary data which have not been validated, we have a lot of question of the validity of that information. However, if we have the source that has that recommendation, that has that mandate of validating all those information, we will start on that and develop our additional value without wasting our time and our resources. Thank you.
Yeah, Kennedy, would you like to reflect on some of the questions, please?
Yeah, I would just like to answer the first question that was asked by, I think, someone from this side. The question was whether the information has been collected and whether the programs within the countries were involved in collecting this data. My response to this would be, we've not yet started collecting the data, so we're in the process. The first thing that we started to do was to assess the needs of the different people who will be using these land, soil, and crop hubs. But then, in collecting this data, we are going to involve all the stakeholders who are involved in providing and using land, soil, and crop information within these countries. So we are going to adopt a multi-stakeholder approach. The knowledge institutions are going to be involved. The private bodies are going to be involved. The public bodies are going to be involved. The farm organizations are going to be involved in providing this data that will go into the hub. So we are taking a multi-stakeholder approach. And then there was also a question on whether we have strategies to use the data, the land, soil, and crop information data that we are going to consolidate in the hub. And as a startup, we are going to also show, or rather, work with 2 use cases to show how the land, soil, and crop information that we are going to collect in this hub can be used. And the 2 use cases are, we are going to show how the information and the data can be used in soil and water conservation processes, and also how the information can be used in addressing integrated soil fertility management issues. Yeah.
One last round of questions, particularly from that side.
Eremias?
Yes.
Eremias?
Yes.
We are waiting for our ministers to be back.
Okay.
But as we wait for them, let us have a commercial break. We are going to play our video before we continue with the questions.
Okay.
We have a lot of time.
Okay.
Please play the video.
Thank you very much.
In East Africa, the land suffers under climate change. This threatens food security for a growing population. But there are ways to make the soil more resilient, to innovate in agricultural systems, and to produce food in a more sustainable way. To find the way, we need data. We want to bring together all available data on land, soil, and crops into national information hubs. To empower farmers, extension agents, researchers, NGOs, agribusinesses, and local and national governments to future-proof food production systems and support the rural transformation that is needed. Data supports decisions that create change.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have